Hey folks, Mr. Dell here. We are looking at solving equations that have more than one variable. Notice my equations here have x and y, x and y. So I'm going to solve for that indicated variable. I'm pulling this question from CPM Course 3. And this is from the closure, the Chapter 5 closure. Okay, so this is Chapter 5 closure. So my problem here is 563. And I want you to see that it says for this one, solve for indicated variable. I'm solving for y. That means I need to get my y all by itself. Okay. So the goal, again, is to isolate the y. You want to figure out what is y in terms of everything else. So it's not as easy as I'm going to put a number in there and I'm going to be able to tell you what y is because we still have this x. So what we need to do is we have to use the steps of solving equations, but do them in a way then that gets that y alone. So it's definitely a lot more algebra and not that finding an answer, right? So when I think of the steps in solving an equation, the steps in solving: simplify, distribute and combine like terms, isolate the x term or the variable term, whatever the variable term, in this case y is what I'm wanting to do, and then divide by the coefficient. These steps still work each time for these questions. The issue is you're just going to have other variables that you have to deal with, but specifically you're looking for that variable term that I want to isolate. In this case, I'm solving for y. So first one, simplify. Well, there's no simplifying to do, right? Those can't be combined. There's no distributive, so I'm done. But now it's isolate the variable term, right? The variable term, the y is what I want. So my variable term is 5y. So I got to get that 5y. What my goal here is I want my next line to just be 5y by itself. So what would you have to do to get the 5y by itself is get rid of the 2x. And it'd be subtracting 2x. A negative 2x and a positive 2x, make that go away. So what you do to one side, you do to the other. So what do I have? I have 10 and a negative 2x. Well, those can't combine, so I write it as two separate terms, negative 2x plus 10. Okay. Then that second step, or that last step, was to divide by the coefficient to get that y alone, and you would still do the same thing. So I divide by 5. That's going to get my y alone. But this is where it gets a little tricky. When I divide by 5, I have to divide each term by 5. I'm going to divide this by 5 and that by 5. Every term gets divided by that coefficient. So negative 2 over 5, or negative 2 divided by 5. That can't divide evenly, so I leave it as a fraction, and it becomes the new coefficient to that variable x in this case. So it's negative 2/5 x, because 2 over 5 does not divide evenly, so we leave it as a fraction. And then plus 10 divided by 5, that does divide evenly, and it gets me 2. So that right there would be the equation that represents y, for that solving for y. Okay. So for this one, same steps, but this time I'm solving for x. I have my x, right? I want x alone. So I do the process that I just did, but I do have to do step 1 first, because step 1 is distribute or simplify. I do have that to be done first. So step 1, this now becomes 3x plus 6 equals y minus 6. I distribute. I take that 3 and I multiply it through to each term. Now, I've got no x terms over here, only over here, right? So I'm almost there with isolating my x term, my variable term, because I'm solving for x. So I just want 3x by itself. How do you do that? Do the opposite of the other thing, which is it's a positive 6, do a negative 6. That goes away. Do it as well over here. So I have that's gone. So I have 3x is equal to y minus 12, right? A negative 6 makes it a negative 12, minus 12. Now I'm at that divide by the coefficient. The coefficient is 3. And again, divide each term by 3. Now we look at this and I say, well, y over 3. Some people you can leave your answer y over 3, but I tend to make sure we understand that in front of that y is always a 1, right? In front of every variable in the very beginning, we could have said there's a 1y. So really I'm looking at 1 divided by 3. And again, 1 doesn't divide evenly by 3. So I write it as a fraction, 1/3 y minus, and then 12 divided by 3 does divide, and you get 4. So there would be the answer for solving for x. Okay, there you go.